Hello friends, today I bring you the review of Chapter 13 of Baki Rahen. In the previous chapter, we saw Jack injured after suffering a series of cuts from Kosho. The audience was astounded by the impressive display of skill from the man known as the Cord Cutter, but despite his injuries, Jack remains calm, ready to respond to the attack. Kosho, on the other hand, looks serious, aware that this won't be enough to stop the beast in front of him, so he prepares to launch a second series of cuts. The audience is thrilled to observe that Kosho's sharp fingers and Jack's teeth are lethal. It was evident that both had managed to evade the only rule of combat, which prohibited the use of weapons. Among the spectators, including Baki, there is a mix of surprise and admiration for Kosho's skill, who has perfected his abilities since his last encounter in the underground arena. In the opposite corner, Yujiro Hanma, also known as the biting cyborg, prepares for the next move of his adversary. The fight continues with a series of blows and kicks, where both fighters exhibit their skill and power. Kosho manages to strike Jack in the face, severely affecting his left eye. However, Jack doesn't give up and manages to grab Kosho by the hand, seizing the opportunity to bite him on the shoulder. The previous chapter ended with this climax and the uncertainty of what will happen next. This week's chapter begins by showing the feat of numerous Greeks heading en masse to an important event of the day. It was the Olympic Games, held in the grandiose Greek Colosseum, a very important event for this ancient civilization. This event gathered crowds, who joyfully expressed the start of the spectacle. Watching two men fight for their survival was a show everyone wanted to witness. The focus of this event was a series of duels, aimed at determining the most outstanding warriors of the Colosseum. Therefore, it was an event full of violence that captivated the spectators, who watched in astonishment their favorite fighter, a muscular and giant warrior, reproaching his opponent for having bitten a part of his body. The warrior expressed his discomfort with the unfair tactics of his opponent, who never missed an opportunity to bite him. This fighter not only suffered the pain of the wounds but also endured a considerable loss of blood. The audience, perplexed, questioned what was happening. Resorting to bites was an unprecedented act in that arena. The warrior immediately called the combat referees, criticizing the dirty strategy of his rival, who resorted to biting as if he were a small child. He reproached his adversary for being a dishonorable fighter, highlighting his chest wound and the loss of another piece of skin. The judges, experienced elders, exchanged looks of bewilderment about what was happening. Amid the confusion, his opponent assured him that biting is not a cowardly tactic. He claimed that biting is not a childish act, but an act of survival that even wild beasts have adopted. With pride, this warrior declared that he uses his teeth like a wild beast, equating his bite to that of a fierce lion hunting its prey. The audience was absolutely impressed by such action and declaration. It was an unprecedented event in history. It was the first time that a fighter, in an official competition of this Colosseum, and before an audience, resorted to his teeth as a weapon in combat. This warrior became the first fighter in the history of official combat to exhibit this technique. Returning to the present in the underground arena, we find Yujiro Hanma, who, after losing the vision in his left eye, delivers a fierce bite to Kosho's trapezius muscle. Both the audience and the narrator wonder what will happen next. Jack has Kosho completely trapped, holding him with his right arm, while with the left he immobilizes one of his hands and simultaneously bites him. Kosho is at the mercy of this hungry beast and seems to have no escape. The audience was deeply impacted by how a simple handshake triggered a series of events in a brief span. Baki and the other fighters observe this incredible display of cunning by Jack. The narrator highlights that in their culture, a firm left-handed handshake usually symbolizes the strengthening of friendship. But Jack had used this gesture to bite the trapezius muscle of his opponent, an unexpected and unprecedented act. Suddenly, Jack turns his neck intensely and rapidly, thus tearing off a piece of his enemy's muscle. Both the audience and the narrator are profoundly shocked by the scene. This action was not usual in the combat arena. Kosho, affected by the pain of the attack, feels the loss of skin and muscle in his trapezius, a sensation that is instantly transmitted to his brain, causing him to bend his knees. This bite had caused a significant wound, tearing off a piece of flesh. And although Jack seemed to have finished his attack, he maintained a firm grip on Kosho's left hand, preventing his escape. Jack looked down from above with an expression of superiority, while Kosho, overwhelmed by the pain of the serious wound, directed his gaze towards the ground. Unexpectedly, Jack executes a rapid twist with his body, causing Kosho to spin violently in the air. The audience is left astonished at this clear display of skill. Jack seizes the opportunity to apply a strong hold on Kosho, who had then turned on his back, allowing him to execute a strangulation with the intention of ending the fight. He sought to make him lose consciousness with this lock. Doppo comments to Katsumi how impressive Jack is, having initiated that sequence with a simple handshake, and now having the situation completely under control. Jack lies down in the arena, using his powerful legs to imprison Kosho's waist, who seems unable to break free from his strong grip. The narrator suggests that we might be witnessing the decisive movement of the fight, as Kosho seems to be losing consciousness. Jack continues to apply pressure with his arms and legs to knock out Kosho, but just when it seems that Kosho has lost consciousness, Jack releases him, stands up slowly, and opens his mouth with a clear intention to bite Kosho's neck. As the narrator wonders what is happening, Jack launches his most lethal bite towards Kosho's neck, targeting the carotid artery. The audience does not understand why Jack is making this additional attack. We already seem to have won with the lock. They see no need for another attack against an apparently unconscious Kosho. After the attack, a large amount of vital fluid is seen in the air, thus concluding this intriguing chapter and announcing that Chapter 14 of Baki Rahen will be published in 3 weeks. In other words, the manga will take break again. Well, this chapter showed us an exciting escalation in the intense battle between Jack Hanma and Kosho. This chapter not only showcases the differences in fighting styles between the two fighters, but also delves into psychological and strategic aspects. For some, this chapter might have seemed boring due to the little action scene, but it's important to understand that it's the small details that give it meaning. I like that Itagaki does not try to excuse Jack's fighting style. In fact, it is emphasized that biting is a resource mainly used by children and women. However, this doesn't matter to Jack, as he will do anything to win, even if he is mocked for it. The gladiator who appeared at the beginning of the chapter said that biting is not a cowardly or childish act, as you are not using something alien to you. After all, teeth are weapons with which humans have been blessed by nature. Wild beasts are proof that teeth and claws are fundamental for survival. For a long time, it has been clear that Jack is not like Baki and that he does not adhere to a moral code like the other fighters. The biting cyborg has already entered a territory that only wild beasts know, and that is the art of biting. This suspenseful ending, with Jack's potentially lethal bite aimed at Kosho's carotid artery, leaves us with a dramatic tone for the next chapter. I didn't believe Jack was capable of taking the fight to this limit, but now I am shocked, as we know that a wound in that area is deadly if not quickly treated. The words Kosho said to his brother now have no value, as he won't come out unscathed as he promised. Kura told him he could fix any injuries suffered in the fight, but I don't know if he can do it with a wound as complicated as the one Jack has inflicted on his neck. It would be a tremendous twist if Kosho loses his life in this fight, since Retsume at the same end, there hasn't been a moment with so much tension in the series. But well, we will have the outcome of the fight in 3 weeks, according to the first translations of this chapter. It's a shame to have so many breaks with this series, but we have no choice but to wait. Either way, share your opinion in the comment box, and tell me what you thought of this chapter. And well, friends, thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe if you liked it. I hope you have a nice day or night. See you soon.